The Shaolin disciples were burning incense. There was an incense burner in an iron box. They had to open the iron door with their fingers to burn the incense. This was the test at Shaolin Temple. However, the man was an impostor. Since he hadn't learned the basic kung fu, he couldn't open the iron box at all, so he just said the iron box was broken. But he was seen through by the monk. The monk grabbed him, pushed the iron door open with force, and the man screamed because he got burned. His hand also got stuck in the iron box. Then the man came to another iron door. The other disciples opened it quickly, but his punches didn't work, so he let the other disciples go first and then tried to get past the door. Inside the door, the disciples were practicing martial arts. Some were even hitting sandbags with their heads. The man was so scared that he almost fainted. Then he saw several disciples practicing their steps. Every time they moved forward, the monk would throw a tile. The ground was covered with oil. The man decided to try it, but he missed the tile and slipped to the ground. He knocked over several disciples. The monk grabbed his foot and pushed him forward. As a result, his head was covered by a wooden bucket full of oil. The disciples practicing martial arts nearby couldn't help but laugh at him. Soon, a senior monk heard the noise and came over. The man asked the senior monk to be his master. The senior monk already knew he was an impostor but didn't expose him on the spot. Instead, he told him to wash his dirty and messy hair. However, the monk didn't allow him to wash his hair in the pool or fetch water from the well, but he could throw stones into the well and use the splashing water to wash his hair. He could only become a disciple after his hair was clean, but the man saw only 2 stones beside the well, so he came up with an idea. He tied the stones to his body with a rope and threw them into the well, but the splashing water landed outside, so he stood on the well and threw the stones again, but still couldn't wash his hair. Instead, he got his face dirty, so he had to pull up the stones and smash them into the well with force until the splashes were enough to clean his hair. After several days of practice, the man mastered the rhythm of the splashing water. However, he was wearing a wig, so he used wall dust to dye his hair white. Then he excitedly found the senior monk, telling him that he had cleaned his hair and asking him to teach him kung fu. But the monk suddenly reached out to grab his hair, which the man dodged. It turned out that the monk was testing him, because after these days of washing his hair, the man had learned how to dodge attacks. But the man didn't realize that he had acquired a skill and still asked the monk why he grabbed his hair. So the monk directly pulled off the man's wig and exposed his impersonation of a Shaolin disciple. The man felt guilty and wanted to leave, but the monk stopped him and agreed to let him stay in Shaolin Temple.